premises are hard to see, and that is just fine with me. Modus ponens is the plan. Serve you logic, I am
The converted man here.
The disbelief or denial in the existence of God. This is from the Grapes of Flame talking to you guys about atheism.
Hello, Grapes of Flame. This is The Converted Man, and I'll be responding to your video. But first, I don't know where you got that definition from, but it's wrong. See, a denial assumes that something exists to be able to deny it. Example, there are many people who deny the Holocaust happened. There are global warming denialists. There are people who deny that the age of the Earth is 4.54 billion years old and that biological evolution is a sound and verifiable scientific theory. These are denials because those things are actually true and really do exist. However, God is a different proposition altogether because different people believe in different gods and some people don't believe in God at all. God is not something that is as proven or even proven as the age of the Earth, biological evolution, the Holocaust, or other things that people actually deny, like the Earth being round, for example. Well, an obloid spheroid, but nonetheless, there are people that think that the Earth is flat. They deny the reality of the Earth being a sphere, or an obloid spheroid. Nonetheless, something has to be real and quantified as real before anyone can deny it. The definitions of atheists can be found on a wide variety of dictionaries on and offline. The majority of dictionaries have two definitions for atheist. One who says there is no God, or one who does not believe in God. Both of these definitions are valid. Some dictionaries only have the first definition, that an atheist is someone who says there is no God. That might have been true in the past, but we've changed that meaning over time.
I am not out to attack atheists at all. So I don't want to get people thinking, oh, you're just out to attack them. No. But I am calling out atheism and what it truly stands for.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're trying to attack the argument rather than a person or the persons involved. That's always a good thing. However, atheism doesn't stand for anything, at least in the sense that I would understand stand for to mean. Understand, stand for. Yeah, that's right. So, atheism is simply a non-belief in God or the statement that there is no God. In either case, there's nothing else that it could stand for. It's not like being a Republican or being a Democrat. It's not like being a libertarian or a feminist or MRA or NRA or any other initials that are out there. No, atheist is a description, not a prescription of what a person believes, or in this case, doesn't believe.
I'm going by its proper use, and I'm not going by the abuse it's gone through. Atheism states there is no God. There is a denial of the existence of God. There's no evidence for God. It's 100% certain there is no God. That's what atheism states.
I wonder where you got the idea that atheism makes these statements, because atheism, not being a worldview, has no statements to make in this way. It's not as if atheism is equivalent to, say, the Pope. Now, if a Pope makes a statement and declares something to be something that Catholics must do or not do, then that is a statement about Catholicism that the highest authority has made. Atheism isn't an entity. It isn't a single person. It is simply a not believing in or a statement of there is no regarding a concept that we call God. Whether God exists or not in reality is almost a secondary issue to what the word it means. So where did you possibly find this statement? Is there an atheist webpage that speaks for all atheists that I'm simply unaware of? No, that can't be so, because even the atheist pages that exist, although they might have mission statements or statements of what their goal is or what their purpose is, I would dare think that none of them would try to claim anything on behalf of all atheists or atheism in general, other than that we don't believe in God, or that some of us might say that there is no God. So, where's your source for this idea? Now, if it comes from a theological page or an apologetic page or book, then you should doubt that source, because they're going to tell you information that is going to mislead you. If I want to understand what a Jewish person thinks, I go to a Jewish website and I read about some Jewish people and what they think. Now, that's not going to cover all Jewish people, but at least I'll glean an understanding from that. So, if I want to learn about a Christian, I'm going to go to a Christian website, look at what Christians have to say in general, in particular, and so on and so forth. But I'm still not going to assume that that's all Christians. I'm going to say, well, that's true for these group of Christians. Now I have a little bit better idea. But I'm not going to go to an atheist site to learn about these things. Although, if I did, I would be rewarded with very honest critiques and or criticism and or simply definitions of what these things are. Atheist websites tend to be very honest with these things. Now, there might be someone out there that made an atheist site that isn't very honest or didn't do a very good job, and I'm sure that somebody could pretend to be an atheist and make a very crappy website, but nonetheless, I'm still going to go and ask the people that are part of this thing, this entity, this group, this idea, whatever it might be, what it is that they think or believe or don't think, and try to get an idea from them, rather than thinking that I know what their idea is, which is what you're doing here. What you have done is commit two logical fallacies. One is called special knowledge. This is a logical fallacy where you would have to have special knowledge of every atheist's mind to know what they think, what they believe, or what they don't believe, and why, in order to make the statement that you just made. The second logical fallacy you made is called a straw man, where you present an argument that isn't quite what your opponent made, or isn't anything like what your opponent made, or isn't what your opponent made at all, and pretend that that's the argument and attack that much weaker, much easier to dismantle argument. Because of these logical fallacies, your conclusions would be ones we would have to be skeptical of.
With that alone, that is 100% false. These atheists claim there's no evidence for God. There's two things wrong with that. One, the evidence is abundantly clear.
Rather than saying it's abundantly clear, why not cite some specific and perhaps even testable examples of evidence? What do you mean when you say evidence? Because usually I try to quantify what I mean when I say evidence by saying empirical evidence. This is evidence that is observable with the naked eye and or observable with machinery help, whether it be a telescope or a microscope or an electronic microscope or other device like cameras that can see infrared, for example, or other color spectrums, etc. Some way that I can observe the phenomenon in question. That's empirical evidence. Evidence on its own is a loose term and can refer to a number of things, especially people tend to get sidetracked into what evidence might mean in a court of law. I'm not concerned with that sort of evidence. No, I'm concerned only with the evidence that can be in some way, shape, or form observed by all humans everywhere at all times. At any time. Now, the only exception, of course, to that would be, yes, you have to have certain equipment to observe certain types of empirical evidence, but nonetheless, if you have that equipment, that you could observe this phenomenon. If you don't have empirical evidence for whatever it is you're talking about, then surely you must then have some sort of test that could be run to at least indicate that this phenomenon exists. If you don't have any sort of test that can be run, then what in the world do you mean by evidence?
2. Even if it wasn't abundantly clear, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
That is a logical fallacy that you have pointed out. But it is not always applicable. It is true that if we don't have evidence of a thing, that doesn't mean that that thing isn't. But it's also true that there's no reason to think that that thing is until we have evidence that it is. The black swan fallacy is a good example of how one can mistakenly abuse natural assumptions. See, white swans were observed for a long period of time. And so somebody somewhere said, there are no black swans. Well, this person didn't understand biological evolution or logic or some combination thereof. They were basing their idea that, well, I've never seen a black swan yet, so there's no one. And it was discovered that there are indeed black swans. They do exist. You can find them in Australia and other places. But yeah, they exist. Okay, well, that was a fallacy to say that there is no X because all we have seen are Y. Where Y is where X is a subcategory of Y. Okay, so there's no black swans. All I've seen is white swans. Okay, or you can flip it around; it still works. Nonetheless, there are no leprechauns. I've never seen a leprechaun. Not only have I never seen a leprechaun, but I've never seen any evidence of leprechauns. Not only have I never seen any evidence of leprechauns, no evidence for leprechauns has ever been presented. So this is different than the statement that there are no black swans. See, I don't have an example of any leprechauns. So saying that there are none, or at least that we should be skeptical of them, is quite reasonable. In this case, absence of evidence is evidence of absence. There's no evidence for leprechauns. But nobody would use the logical fallacy in this way to say, well, just because we don't have any evidence of leprechauns, that doesn't mean that there aren't any leprechauns, unless they really believed in leprechauns. Which then I would have to ask, well, if we don't have evidence, which is something that you've now admitted to by saying, well, yeah, but even if there isn't evidence, that doesn't mean that they aren't there, then this negates your previous statement that there is evidence. So you can't have it both ways. Either there is evidence or there isn't. And if there isn't, then by what basis do you go on to believe that there is? So the logical fallacy here doesn't apply. There is absence of evidence. And not only that, there's evidence for absence, depending on which God we're talking about. Now, I don't know which God you're talking about right at the moment, so I don't want to assume anything about it. But so far, no one that has made the claim about there being a God has presented evidence that would compel a skeptic to agree that there is, in fact, a God.
And then they claim, okay, I cannot disprove the existence of God. So by those two statements alone, you cannot say with 100% certainty that there is no God. And it's scientifically proven that there is no God.
No one is able to prove a universal negative in this way. You can argue against it, but prove No. There is a difference. If I say to you, I have a red cup, I can prove that I have a red cup by showing you a red cup. Ownership of that cup might be more difficult to prove, but nonetheless, if pressed, I could probably prove that I own the cup, or at least argue for the idea that I own the cup. Nonetheless, you cannot prove a universal negative in the same way, because you cannot show that something isn't. There isn't an invisible dragon in this room. Well, how would I prove that? I can't show you that there isn't a dragon. There simply is not a dragon. Not to mention that invisibility is then something that I'm adding onto the already non-existing dragon to make detection of it even harder to do. So, no one needs to be able to show that there are no leprechauns. Because if there are none, then we couldn't show that there are none because there are none to show. What we can do is show that there's no evidence for leprechauns, and then discard the belief of leprechauns after seeing that there was no proof of it. Similarly, we cannot prove that reindeers cannot fly. Now, we could line up a number of reindeers on the roof and push them off one by one and watch them plummet to the ground and record this scientifically, but somebody could always say, well, those reindeers are really depressed. Thanks to James Randi for that particular idea. Nonetheless, you can't prove I'm not God. Go on. Try to prove that I'm not God. I'll wait. What's that? Your Bible says I'm not God. Well, that's deception placed there by the real God, which is me. My enemy has placed that into existence, and I've let it be because I'm willing to let fools be deceived. Only the true chosen ones will come to understand that I am God. What? Still not convinced? You want me to do something to prove that I'm God? Puny human, I will not bow to your tests. How dare you? When you die, I will punish you forever and ever and all time. What? Don't believe me? Why, you haven't read my book? You didn't even know I had a book? Well, that's because you're not one of the chosen ones. Can you prove that I'm not God? No, you can't. So where does the burden lie? Perhaps it lies on me. If I make the claim that I'm God, I should prove that I'm God. And if I do not, or cannot, or will not, then there's no reason for you to think that I am.
Just going by the evidence and where it truly leads, not leading the evidence in itself, and going by logic, we know God exists.
What evidence and what logic? I mean, you've already made two logical fallacies, so that's not in your favor. But you wouldn't need a logically coherent argument if you had evidence. You could just give us that. Saying it's everywhere you look doesn't mean anything to me. Yeah, the evidence of air is everywhere you look, except for, I don't know, under the water, but there's different sort of oxygen in there, but it's not air that's breathable to us. So, what did I mean by air? It was kind of vague. But now as I'm getting more specific, and example of air is everywhere. You just have to look. But if I don't tell you anything more, you don't even know how to look or what air is. What do I mean by that? Do I mean breathable air for humans and plants and animals on land? Do I mean oxygen? What do I mean by that word? And then just saying it's everywhere around you, yeah, you can look around your room and you will see air. Well, you won't see it because you would need some sort of device to actually observe air. That would be a scientific instrument of sort. And if I don't tell you what that instrument is, then how in the world are you going to do it? Now, a simple experiment will suffice. You get a balloon, you put your mouth to it, and you blow, and the balloon gets bigger. It's air. It's amazing. And you let it go, and it goes... Might not make that sound exactly. Don't quote me. Not verbatim. That your balloon may make different sounds. Disclaimer.
We know there was a creator.
We? No, we do not know that. You might believe that, but until you demonstrate that that is a thing, it remains a belief. Knowledge is something different, but I don't want to get too technical with the philosophy and stuff because you are having problems with informal logic and you're having problems with, evidence. Your vague idea that this God is everywhere and that we know we need a creator, that there is a creator. No, we don't. You believe that. I don't know if you know it. If you did know it, okay, then show it. And if you cannot show it, then as Aaron Ross says, you cannot know it.
And if you want to know this creator, seek him.
So it's a male that I'm looking for? Well, that eliminates half the population. Where should I start looking for this guy?
Seek God.
Well, he wasn't in this room.
Either talk to somebody who has a strong relationship with God.
Whoa, slow down there. How do I identify somebody that has a relationship with God, let alone a good relationship with God? How do I know that somebody has that? Like, they could just lie and say that they do, so there's got to be some sort of test that I can do on them or have them do that would then prove that they have a relationship with God, and then some sort of test that would show that they have a good relationship with God. At least tell me how to do that. Also, can a man or a woman have a good relationship or any relationship with God, or is it restricted to men? Because I'm looking for a man, right? You said look for him, so that implies a male. So God is one of us? What if God was just one of us, just a slob like one of us? That would be amazing. But how do I find out who has a good relationship with him? I gotta socialize and network this thing, but I don't know where to start.
Read your Bible.
Well, okay, if you insist. About 13 billion years ago, there was a speck of something. We don't know why it was there, but it was. Where was it? Has question for ages. The answer is that the speck can be said to be floating, but floating in what? We know that water has 2 parts oxygen and 1 part hydrogen, H2O. The stuff of life, the most powerful chemicals found in our universe, and something that things can float in. Could it be possible that the speck was floating in water? Yes. Not only that, it is possible, but it was. The speck was floating in water, and the pressure from that water was there, and the water were all that there was. Or what? There seems that there was, in fact, more than... Wait, what? He didn't mean my Bible? He meant his Bible. Oh, man. All right. I don't know which Bible he's talking about, though.
If you don't have one, go get one.
The ongoing joke is that I don't know what Bible he's talking about, even though that you know that I know what he's talking about. But that's all his special knowledge. So you can't say that you know that. What Bible are you talking about? I don't know. How much does it cost? Where do I get one? Is it online?
Or pray. It's better to do all 3, but at least do one of them.
Pray? What do you mean pray? What is pray? Like prey on a beast? Like, what does hunting have to do with this? And see, here I'm pretending like I don't know what prey is. So what would you do if somebody never had heard the word prayer before and said, I don't know what you mean by pray. How do I do that? What is it? How does it work? Now, you've given me a couple of hints at what your God might be and what your religion might be, but I don't want to assume anything. So pray to what? To God, right? But which God? If I pray to the wrong God, will I get a wrong answer? In fact, what answer or what thing should I be praying about when I have to think that there's something to pray to in the first place? If I just say, hey, God, prove that you exist so that I can know that you exist and maybe just tell me your name and, what you're about and where you're located and what you're like. I don't know, something. Because right now, I don't even believe in you. Not to offend you. Just saying, don't know who you are. Thanks. Deconverted man out. Was that a prayer? Did I do it right? How long do I wait for my response? What sort of response should I expect? You know what? I wasn't really clear. I'll try again. Hey, God. Deconverted man here again. You know my real name, I would assume. I don't know. Maybe that's too much to assume from you. I'll call myself Dan Green. That's a little bit easier. But I have an email, deconvertedman1@gmail.com. Why don't you go ahead and email me that there and say hi? Ooh, that might have been a mistake. Somebody might pretend to be God. I know. I'll ask something outlandish that God could do, but a normal person probably wouldn't do. Okay, God. Sorry. You're probably busy. Deconverted man here again. Dan Green. Deconvertedman1@gmail.com. Could you go ahead and email me, say hi, and PayPal me $1 million? That'd be great. Now, I'm not going to assume you know what my PayPal is, but I'm going to go ahead and link my PayPal in the description, or you could be my Patreon for just this month and do $1 million. That way I'd know it's you, and we can talk through the messenger thing. That would be great. All right, I'll let you know when that $1 million comes in and God tells me who he is. Look forward to that.
Pray. Ask God to reveal himself to you.
Oh, maybe I messed this up. Okay, hey God, Dan Green, Deconverted Man here again. Sorry, I know. I'm watching this video, and well, you probably know that. I don't know if you know that. I'm assuming a lot about God. What was I gonna say? Oh, right. Could you go ahead and prove yourself to me? And while you're at it, all the other atheists out there, that'd be great. So for me, it would just be that $1 million. So go ahead and send me that $1 million. And I'll see you then, I guess. Or we'll go from there. All right. Did I do it right this time? Pretty sure I did it right by his criteria. Didn't say I couldn't do it that way.
This is something I've done, so I'm not telling anyone to do anything I haven't done.
Well, rather than try to find somebody that has a good relationship with God, because I don't even know how to do that, or to read my Bible, which really wasn't what you were talking about, because my Bible's probably very different than your Bible. The prayer thing didn't seem to have any effect, but to be fair, I didn't give a time limit to God, so maybe one day I'll get that $1 million. You know what? I better call up God real quick before I continue this point. Hey God, Deconverted Man here. Yeah, that $1 million, send it tomorrow. Okay, it's 1:31 a.m. right now as I record this. So 1:31 a.m. tomorrow would be tomorrow from now. Yeah, 24 hours. That seems reasonable amount of time. You know what? You're God. You could do it right now. So before I'm even done with the video, I should be able to render this video, look at my PayPal, and it should just be there. All right. You do that. You got me. You've proven yourself to me. All right. Thanks. Peace out. Okay. Now, where was I? Right. So, here's what I've done. Research the history of the Christian Bible, also known as the Torah and then the New Testament. Then looked at the archaeological evidence. Then learned informal logic. That's what I've done. Have you? Why not? It's interesting stuff. You should check it out.
And that's where the logic series comes in play, and the stories of redemption. Both came from God revealing himself to me.
The logic series and stories of redemption? I'm guessing you're talking about some sort of playlist on your channel or something. I haven't heard any logic in this video other than the logical fallacies that you made when you did your special knowledge and straw man. And you never corrected those, so that's kind of a problem. Maybe you'll fix that in your response video. As far as God revealing himself to you, well, that's nice for you. I'll be on your side as soon as I get that $1 million.
So seek God. Ask him. He will reveal himself to you.
You heard it here, folks. God is going to reveal himself to me by giving me $1 million. by tomorrow. That's 1:44 a.m. I thought it said 2:44 a.m. That's probably what I said earlier in the video. So I don't know what time it is, apparently, but God does. I hope. If not, like, he would know now, or am I not praying to him now? Like when is it a prayer? And like, do you say, okay, prayer begin? Like, how does it work? Like, does singing his name start the prayer? Like, hey, like every time you say God, does he think that that's a prayer, and like it only stops when you say Amen? Oh man, if that's how it works, he's got to be confused when people start singing Amen like all over those. He's like, I gotta hang up with people, hanging up. Oh wait, that's them. Dang nabbit, you're confusing me. How does this work? Anyways, I'm not sure what I was talking about, but I'm gonna be rich, so it doesn't matter anymore. Whee!
As long as you have your heart open to him and receptive, as long as you remain receptive to what's being said or what's being shown.
I'm telling you, man, I am over 9,001% receptive to receiving $1 million and getting the proof that God exists. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to believe so hard in God. I'm going to make videos for the rest of my life talking about how real God is and how he gave me the $1 million to prove himself to me. It's going to be mega awesome. I'll have to change the channel name. Maybe I'll have to start a new channel. Or maybe I'll keep it just ironically. I'm not sure if that is irony. Coincidentally? I don't know what the bleep it is, but maybe I'll just keep it and be like reconverted man or something. Anyways, so yeah, but I'm totally open to that $1 million coming through. Yeah, not sure about my heart being open though. A heart pumps blood, and I don't want it to be open unless somebody's doing surgery on it, and I don't want to have to go through surgery, really, so I should really eat better and exercise more. Well, anyways, the $1 million will get me personal trainers, so I should be fine.
God will reveal himself to you as not a trait only God has. That's not the only reason you have to remain receptive. It's just like in school when you had to be receptive of the information given to you.
Oh, God doesn't have to give me any information. I'm already going to have the $1 million and believe that he exists. I suppose we could talk to each other if he knows stuff. That'd be cool. Maybe he could teach me stuff that I don't know. Like, if God knows, like, a lot of stuff. Maybe he, like, knows the cures for, like, horrible diseases that we have. He could just, like, here's the formula now. I'd be like, okay, scientist, here's the formula. I could just post it somewhere on the internet and be like, yeah, that's how to cure this thing. God told me. It's really cool. So, also have $1 million that God gave me. So, now somebody's gonna look at that and be like, man, that's the cure. You're right. And then they're gonna give me a Nobel Prize. That's like another $1 million, and I can like use that for more charitable deeds. It's awesome, man. I'm gonna be doing so much good.
So leave yourself receptive to God and seek him. This is from the Grapes of Flame. Keep your heart on fire for God. God bless.
And this has been Deconverted Man. You only had 2 logical fallacies, but because of those fallacies, we have to be skeptical of your conclusions regarding what atheists are, they believe in or don't, etc. You didn't cite a single source for where you got the information about what atheists are or what atheism is, so that makes me additionally skeptical if I wasn't already. You offered 0 evidence for anything at all in this video, although you said the evidence was all around us, but then never clarified what you meant by that or what even you meant by evidence. You didn't really tell us what God was or is. You identified God as a male and referenced the Bible, which I can assume only to be the Christian Bible, maybe, but there might be a different Bible that you're talking about. You did mention resurrection, but resurrection is in other religions as well, so again, I'm not really sure. You said that this video was going to be talking about atheists, but you really didn't do a lot of that. You just said, well, they make this claim that they don't make, and, you just got to seek God. And then you gave her criteria for how to go about that, but then you didn't really explain how to go about it. You said, find somebody with a good relationship with God. Well, which God, and how do I do that? And read the Bible, which Bible? You didn't really tell us that. last but not least, prayer. You didn't tell us how to pray or to whom we should pray to or what prayer is or what to expect after that prayer. Simply being open to God is too vague for me. But I did give God some conditions on his proving himself to me. Simply put, God needs to give me $1 million through PayPal or Patreon, both of which I'll link in the description below, but God shouldn't need those links. But I'll give God at least 24 hours, but really I expect him to have that money in there now. If not, I'll be disappointed, but I'll wait a full 24 hours before being really disappointed. And at that point, if God didn't give me that $1 million, then I don't have any reason to believe that there's a God, or at least a God that can hear my prayer, or a God that wants to respond to my prayer, or a God that wants to prove himself to me. So then, you gave no empirical evidence, offered no tests, and you didn't have any logically coherent argument. And unless and until you do, we must continue to be skeptical of your conclusions. Alright, this is the part of the video where I please my Patreons by pronouncing their names properly. Allah Block, Hector Defendi, Joseph Smith, Louis Castro, Jacob Santos, and Godless Geezer. Thank you all for continuing to be my pleasant people Patreons. Blocks. If you want to be your Patreon and help me continue to exist, quite literally, because I need my bills paid and I don't have any money and it's horrible, then please become a Patreon. Even $1 could help me to survive yet another day so I can make another video. Maybe not like this one, might be better, might be worse. If I get enough money, eventually I can get a better microphone and maybe improve my equipment as well. Right now I can barely pay rent, so it's probably really bad, and it's just an appeal to pity and stuff, so you might be ignoring me at this point. I don't know. Whoa there. Slow down. You see, I don't know how to